The trial of Sean Diddy Combs commanded global attention. It was a story watched closely by millions, a collision of immense celebrity, private sexual conduct, and the cold mechanics of federal law. This case was not merely about one man. It became a public forum for difficult conversations about power, consent, and responsibility that come with fame. At the heart of the legal battle was a clash of stories. Prosecutors painted a powerful mogul who used wealth and influence to control and exploit others. They argued it was a pattern that crossed state lines, violating federal law. Witnesses spoke of fear and manipulation, saying refusal was not an option. The defense countered that these were consensual adult encounters, a misunderstood lifestyle, not a criminal enterprise. His stature made the fall more dramatic, and the case a litmus test for modern accountability. A central pillar of the prosecution's case was the Mann Act. Passed in 1910 to combat forced prostitution rings, its language, any other immoral purpose, was notoriously broad. For over a century, its application has evolved, fueling debate about scope and relevance. Prosecutors said Combs arranged interstate travel with the intent to engage in commercial sex acts. Trips from New York to Florida or California were central to the charges. Invoking the statute elevated the case to a federal crime with stiffer penalties. The state's theory: coordinated trips to facilitate prostitution. Defense argued the Mann Act was stretched beyond its intent and weaponized against private adult behavior. They asserted participants were adults who traveled willingly and consented. Jurors had to decide whether evidence met the legal definition of interstate transportation for prostitution. The term freak-off became a central, controversial element of the trial. Witnesses described highly structured events where sex acts were performed, often filmed. Some said women were recruited and paid, amid an atmosphere of pressure and expectation. The government argued these were not spontaneous gatherings, but an orchestrated enterprise. Women were sometimes flown in from other states to participate. Text messages, statements, and dates were used to suggest a pattern of control and exploitation. The portrayal: not just a host, but a ringleader of an illegal operation. Defense characterized freak-offs as private, consensual encounters among adults. They called Combs an amateur pornographer documenting consensual acts. The core conflict: consent versus coercion, and where power tilts that balance. In this complex trial, the smallest detail, baby oil, captured public imagination. Agents reported finding it in homes and hotel rooms connected to him. Media turned a mundane product into a provocative motif. For prosecutors, it suggested planning. For defense, it was household, proving nothing criminal. The state implied it was part of a toolkit for staged encounters. Defense called the focus a sign of prosecutorial overreach. They urged jurors to see it for what it was: just baby oil. It became a symbol: calculated exploitation to some, government overreach to others. High-profile trials can load ordinary objects with outsized meaning and controversy. Baby oil. In the context of the Sean Diddy Combs saga, baby oil became one of the most talked-about details during the trial, symbolizing both the bizarre excesses and the disturbing allegations that prosecutors brought against him. Investigators testified that large quantities of baby oil were found in his homes and hotel suites, along with other paraphernalia tied to what witnesses described as orchestrated sex parties known as freak-offs. Several witnesses recalled how the oil was not only ever present but used ritualistically, a kind of trademark of these events where women and escorts were expected to perform for Combs and his inner circle. For prosecutors, this wasn't about a harmless household product. It became a piece of physical evidence that reinforced the claims of systematic planning, objectification, and coercion. The sheer presence of something as mundane as baby oil in a criminal trial fascinated both the media and the public, feeding into viral discussions and YouTube commentary. Its involvement blurred the line between the ordinary and the grotesque, drawing attention to how everyday items could be recontextualized in darker, exploitative settings. To the defense, however, baby oil was spun as proof of nothing more than consensual adult intimacy, part of a lifestyle choice that might be unconventional but not criminal. Yet, because it was repeatedly mentioned in testimony, seized in raids, and tied to multiple witness accounts, Babyoil came to symbolize the central question of the case itself. Were these acts consensual indulgences, or evidence of a carefully orchestrated system of exploitation powered by wealth and influence? Cassie Ventura, once an artist under Bad Boy Records, became pivotal to the saga. In November 2023, she filed a bombshell civil lawsuit with disturbing allegations. Settled in a day, it still ignited scrutiny and accelerated investigations. Her testimony became a cornerstone for the prosecution under the Mann Act. Texts and surveillance footage appeared to corroborate key incidents. To many, speaking out, first civilly, then criminally, was a profound act of courage. A voice from inside the empire helped reshape its public image. For jurors, her credibility connected dots that defined the verdict's contours. Her willingness to testify turned whispers into a record of accountability. Cassie Ventura, Sean Diddy. Combs's long and complicated relationship with singer and model Cassie Ventura became one of the most pivotal elements of the trial and the broader scandal surrounding him. Cassie, who first signed to Diddy's Bad Boy Records as a teenager, was in an on-again, off-again romantic and professional relationship with him for over a decade. While the public image often showed glamour, red carpet appearances, and music collaborations, her later testimony and legal filings revealed a much darker side. In 2023, she filed a bombshell civil lawsuit accusing Combs of years of physical abuse, sexual coercion, and manipulation, which included claims of being forced into what she described as freak-off sex parties, where she felt controlled and exploited. The lawsuit was settled within just one day for an undisclosed sum, but the allegations ignited a firestorm of media coverage and opened the door to wider scrutiny of Combs's private life. During the criminal trial, Cassie's story resurfaced in a much more official setting, with her testimony becoming a cornerstone of the prosecution's case. Jurors were shown text messages between Cassie and Combs, surveillance video from a hotel incident in 2016 where he was seen attacking her, and accounts from others who corroborated her experiences of intimidation. Prosecutors used her narrative to demonstrate not only the personal abuse she endured, but also to highlight the systematic way Combs allegedly used wealth and power to dominate those around him. For many observers, Cassie's involvement was the bridge between private whispers and public accountability. Her willingness to come forward shifted the case from rumor to documented legal battle. In cultural terms, Cassie's story also reshaped how the public viewed Diddy. Once celebrated as a music mogul and entrepreneur, he became increasingly associated with allegations of violence and control. Cassie's credibility, bolstered by both her detailed accounts and corroborating evidence, made her a central figure not just in the trial, but in the broader conversation about abuse in the entertainment industry. Her involvement continues to be one of the most discussed aspects of the saga, raising questions about how long powerful figures can conceal misconduct, how much their partners endure in silence, and what it takes for survivors to finally be believed. Cassie's testimony had a direct impact on how the jury reached its mixed verdict in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Her accounts of coercion, manipulation, and being pressured into traveling for freak-off encounters were not just personal grievances, they tied squarely into the federal charges under the Mann Act. The prosecution used her story to show that Combs knowingly arranged interstate and international trips where she was compelled to participate in sexual activities, a core requirement to secure a conviction under that statute. The evidence presented alongside her testimony, such as text messages confirming arrangements and surveillance video of the violent 2016 hotel altercation, gave the jury tangible proof that her allegations were not merely hearsay, but supported by corroborating details. At the same time, Cassie's involvement also highlighted why the jury was not fully convinced on the more serious charges of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. While her testimony and supporting evidence painted a disturbing picture, the defense's arguments that the relationships were consensual and that Combs was not running an organized criminal enterprise created reasonable doubt. This led jurors to draw a distinction between systemic trafficking and abusive but individualized relationships. As a result, they acquitted him on the enterprise-related charges but convicted him specifically where Cassie's testimony and the supporting evidence fit neatly into the legal requirements of the Mann Act. In essence, Cassie was the linchpin of the case. Her willingness to publicly detail years of trauma turned private allegations into prosecutable federal offenses. For the jury, her credibility helped anchor the guilty verdicts that ensured Combs would face prison time, even if he escaped the harsher trafficking convictions. For the public, her testimony symbolized a breaking point, the moment when the carefully guarded image of Diddy as a music mogul collapsed under the weight of long-hidden truths. Cassie's civil lawsuit in 2023 was a crucial precursor to the criminal trial, setting the stage for what would later unfold in federal court. In her lawsuit, she accused Sean Diddy Combs of a decade-long cycle of physical abuse, sexual coercion, and manipulation, detailing incidents that ranged from beatings to being forced into what she described as freak-off sex parties with escorts. What made the lawsuit so shocking was not just the content of the allegations, but the speed with which it was resolved. Within just one day, Combs agreed to an undisclosed settlement. While that quick resolution silenced the civil proceedings, it also drew massive media attention and intensified law enforcement scrutiny, signaling that her claims had enough substance to potentially point to criminal conduct. Federal investigators began reviewing the evidence and testimony tied to Cassie's lawsuit, and it became a catalyst for broader inquiries into Combs's alleged pattern of behavior. By the time prosecutors assembled their case in 2025, Cassie's allegations were no longer just civil claims. They were the backbone of the government's effort to prove that Combs had crossed legal boundaries. Text messages she provided, the video evidence of the 2016 hotel altercation, and her first-hand testimony became central to the Mann Act charges that ultimately led to his conviction. Without her initial lawsuit, prosecutors may not have had a starting point to build a case that spanned multiple witnesses, seized evidence, and years of alleged misconduct. In this way, Cassie's civil action and her eventual testimony worked hand in hand. The lawsuit cracked open the facade of glamour and power surrounding Combs, and the trial made those private allegations a matter of public record and legal accountability. It also demonstrated how civil litigation can act as a stepping stone toward criminal justice, particularly in cases involving powerful figures who are difficult to prosecute without survivor voices willing to come forward. For Cassie, her actions not only brought closure to her own ordeal, but reshaped the trajectory of Diddy's career and reputation, ensuring that her voice could no longer be dismissed or silenced.